Hello and welcome to today's Business Spotlight, where we are joined by the incredible Stu Logan of Unmanned Air Veterans Limited. Stu, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Anna, and thank you for having us on the old Spotlight.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been very excited about today. Now, I don't hang around, so I'm going to dive straight in. Tell us what you do and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Well, Unmanned Air Veterans is a drone service provider. So, and what we mean by that is that we drone services are very much kind of at the forefront of lots of businesses these days, and in the forefront of people's minds. But what we try not to do is we don't just take pretty pictures, as you know. So we inspect infrastructure with the use of aerial imagery. So we use my 25 years of drone experience that I got from the military to incorporate that experience into everyday commercial aspects, whether it be mapping, whether it be inspections, or as we said, like even if it's the basics of just doing some nice media work for a production company or for a transport company that wants their new trucks filming or something. You know, it can be as small as that to as big as working on a movie project.
Oh, wow. Now, you gave us a bit of an insight there, experience from your military background, and that may have had something to do with the motivation for the business. But tell us what motivated you to start Unmanned Air Veterans?
Well, when I got out the army now, it seems like a lifetime ago, but 10 years in December.
Oh, wow.
The drone industry was very much in its infancy, and there were lots of corporate entities doing certain different roles around the country or around the world, and most of it was offshore. Most of it was supporting other nations, you know, so it's like freelance contracting and all that kind of jazz. But for me, one of the reasons why I left the forces and why the time was right for me to leave the forces was family. As most of you aware, like the army over the last the military over the last 20-25 years has been very, very busy in a multitude of different locations, which has made family life hard to get a grasp of. So when I had the opportunity, when the forces offered me redundancy, I put my name in the hat and I was successful, which cut my career 5 years short. But in that respect, it meant that I didn't have that much time to sort my life out and what I was going to do in moving into the future. I mean, you've heard my story a few times, Hannah, and at the forefront of that, and at the beginning of it all was on my last tour of Afghan. You know, we were watching some sport in the welfare tent, and we noticed that drone footage was being utilised, and drones were being used to record sports. Yeah. To which I was kind of like, that's what I'm going to do. That's where I'm going to go. Do you know what I mean? Why not utilise the experience I've got in operating drones to make money out of it? And when I come out the other side, and it wasn't as plain sailing as that. It wasn't as simple as that. It took 6 years to start the business through one way or another. And during that phase, I had many roles, but none of them was in the drone industry. I was having phone calls, I was having conversations, but nothing seemed to sit or fit right with me and my family, basically, to get that going. So 2019, Unmanned Air Veterans launched, pound the pun. The following March, as we all know, we all got locked down for 2 years. And during that 2 years, Unmanned Air Veterans basically didn't, because we couldn't go anywhere, we, along with two other veteran-run drone companies, came together and started kind of like a peer support group for each other within the industry. Brilliant. And that has kind of like grown from just the three of us to, we've got a WhatsApp group of nearly 20 with another 15 CVs in the pipeline, you know, for any contracts, should we get them, give us that national capability, basically, or international capability. Because as you also know, recently, like I was jet setting, doing work for a production company in Germany recently. Yes. And there's potential of another one in Northern Italy coming up in the new year, which is great. as well as projects in the Middle East and Africa that we're working on alongside another drone company that was, as I said, was one of the founding three when we first started.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. How important was it for you during lockdown to have that peer-to-peer support, and how critical is it to continue that as part of your network, as part of your business?
For me, it was important because, you know, we were all going through the same struggles. We were all having the same kind of issues. You know, I mean, we were all told that we were only allowed to work unless if it was absolutely necessary. Now, some of that argument for some of the points that people were making for that was, well, if I don't work, I don't make any money. If I haven't got any money, then I can't pay, because we didn't qualify for any furlough schemes, we didn't qualify for any government grants or whatever, you know. So it was interesting to see and hear the different struggles and people's points of views of what you could and couldn't do during that period. I mean, you know, I was fortunate at times. The company was only part-time, so I was working for Royal Mail. So work-wise, I had no choice. You know, well, I did have a choice. I couldn't turn around and say I'm not happy to go to work, but the work was there, and the hours was there, and it was crazy hours. It was crazy times for everyone, and having the background that I've got of always being out there and doing something. The wife was basically kind of thing, you are working, because otherwise you'll go mental at home. You know, you'll go stir crazy. It's not for you, and it weren't for everyone. Yeah. And I think that any support network that kind of came through that period, whether it be my industry, whether it be somebody else's industry, whether it be someone's family, whether it be friends or whatever, it was, I think, whatever anybody found during that period to comfort them and help them was great. Like, you know, and there was all sorts of little village communities that were building up. You know, like, could you go drop some shopping off for people that couldn't get about or whatever, like, you know, and well, we all know it was crazy times, and there was lots of kind of stuff that was going on. But for me, it was having that kind of camaraderie with like-minded, sort of like dark-humoured squaddies, you know, that they've been through the ringer quite a lot in their careers, like, you know, that we were able to like share stories and stresses of what was going on in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. That understand you, that you understand them, and yeah, that's definitely a silver lining from lockdown. It was the ability for the community to come together in lots of different ways, which is amazing. You alluded to the reason for leaving the forces was for family time. Has it been everything that you hoped it would be?
I think in the last 12 months, or just over 12 months since the company's gone full time, and I've launched myself into it full time. Yeah, is that it has and it hasn't. You know, I think that thinking that the client base that I built up during lockdown would have been there, and the work would have been there straight away, and finances would have been great. You know, but it wasn't always the case, and learning the trends in patterns of when the busy periods are for the industry and when they weren't. So like, even though I knew that the winter months and the cold months and when the weather's not great, that we're less likely to find work during that period. But for me, we invested in a piece of equipment that covered us during that period. So like, we could fly in the rain, we could fly in strong winds, and we still had more flexibility and stronger to operate in those weathers. But it was educating companies and businesses to that, to say that, like, yeah, we can, you know what I mean? So like, we can fly in this if you need us to, you know. But getting that message out there didn't come out as quickly or as clearly as what we were hoping for. Right. So there's been struggles in patches of having little to none, and obviously that means like not a lot of money coming through. Yeah. To I would say Easter this year, when it all started coming together, basically. So between Easter and kind of like the beginning of August, it was very, very busy. We had 3 or 4 months very, very successful. And then what we've now learned is that although August is a great month for operations, a lot of people are off on holidays, so they're less likely to book you because they're not at work themselves. You know, so although you kind of like would have this plan to say that, like, yeah, well, we'll work, you know, with no holidays between March and October, November. Yeah. then have those winter months off because no one's going to book us, and then that's when we'll have our holidays. Kind of like went out the window, really, because it was like, well, yeah, the rest of the world kind of like pretty much near enough stops during August. So unless if you've got like big projects that you've already got planned and that are booked in beforehand, August is kind of, you might as well book your holidays, might as well have them and enjoy them with your family.
Yeah, August definitely is a slower time, isn't it? It definitely is a slower time, and it seems like your business is influenced by the seasons, literally by the seasons. So if the weather is against you, that huge learning of getting a drone, getting the equipment that can fly in and be used in the bad weather, I think is a very shrewd move, especially with the weather that we get in the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Definitely.
August has been quiet and incredibly wet this year. Insatiably so. What would you say that you do different in the industry?
I would say that what we would do differently is incorporate the training and the values that we learned whilst in the forces. So that I did a 4-month image analyst course where it taught me about infrastructure and building makeup and things like that. So whether it be communications towers, whether it be bridges, whether it be masts, those type of things, we were trained to analyze them and find out what bits were bits, basically, whether if it was a paraboloid dish, whether it was a truncated dish, whether if it was a road over water bridge, all those type of things. You could go on forever, in breaking those type of infrastructure down. So learning about them and learning what bits were bits, I can now incorporate into the work that I do now without the blowing up part. And telling me, it was oh yeah, if you hit that bit will come falling down like with quite quickly, like, so now it's about, well, that doesn't look quite right. I'd focus your energy on this area. Right. Whether it's you've spotted a hole in a dish, or whether you've noticed some rusty bearings on some communications towers. It's those little things that we can spot, having spent years of training to detect things that didn't look the same as everything else.
Got you. So when you say you don't just take pretty pictures, within that, it is, what do the pictures mean? What information is it telling us? What do we do with that information? Oh no, I like it. I understand now. I understand. What would you say you could attribute your growth to? So you've had a successful year this year. What would you attribute that growth to?
For me, two things mainly. I think that perseverance and the patience through networking in different groups, getting yourself out there, meeting people, getting them to know you, and then on top of that is the people that already do know you, is then coming back to you and utilizing you again. So I'll say that those are the main two areas I think has been quite valuable for us over the last 12 to 18 months.
Right. So networking is quite powerful for you. What is it about networking that works? Are there any tips for businesses out there that are looking to get into networking, but just wouldn't know where to start?
There's one. Because I've had moments where, I mean, you've got to know me quite well, Hannah, over the last couple of years, and there's events you can go to where you could feel a bit stuffy and a little bit apprehensive when you first walk into the room, and then there are other events you can go to for the first time, and you just think, like, I like this. This is relaxed. This is nice. This is kind of, I feel comfortable here, and letting yourself go, like, and I would say if it's possible, if you're one of those people that struggle going into a room of strangers for the first time, is go make yourself a drink, go find yourself a plate of snacks or whatever, and someone will come to you and say hi. Someone will come to you. Don't be that don't be scared to be approached as such if it's something that's new to you, because eventually that two-way conversation will develop into like kind of like a six-way conversation, and you study in a circle with people you've never met before, and you're feeling quite relaxed because they've been there, they understand that. And as I said, but then there's others where you can just be like, you just walk straight into a room and you'd be like, hi, you know what I mean? It can all depend. I think networking's like going to a party, I think, invited to a party of strangers, where eventually it will fall into place and you will end up getting to know people in that room. Yeah.
I love that you've referred to networking as a party. I totally feel the same. And yeah, and there is a bit of a business dance, and there's a bit of a standing on the side of the dance floor. Shall I go in? Shan't I go in? But they're always the most fun, and some do serve alcohol. So so it's all good. Family is really important to you. So this question is going to be a good one. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I think it's important, if you can, to try and find that routine, try and find that structure that works for you. You know, I mean, if you're the business owner in your family and you've got, and your other half has got that steady 9 to 5, or has got those steady shift hours, you know, that are always the same, I think it's important that you try your best to manipulate your work, your jobs around those hours. So, I mean, I'm completely blessed that I can wake up in the morning and I know the first thing I've got to do each morning is to take my boy to school before I do anything. And that hour, 2 hours in the morning is probably is without doubt my favourite part of the day.
Yeah.
And from that, you know, for me, it puts me in a good mood then for the rest of the day, that I can do whatever it is I'm going to be doing, whether if it's load the car up to go off and do a job, go off to networking, go off to a meeting, because now we can get out and about and go do meetings in face-to-face again, make the most of it, let's do it, you know. And then or I'm doing some research or post-production, post-analytical work at home on the laptop, you know. And again, I can wrap that up and think, right, I've got to pick the boy up ready for school at 3:30, so I can tidy that up, leaving my partner, the wife, you know, my wife, to kind of like not rush home and not need to rush home most times.
So would you say, so setting boundaries, so your routine and structure, what's been, I mean, obviously you've got school run there that kind of helps create that from a timing perspective, but what's been a really great way for you to structure your day? How do you prioritize?
I think it depends. I mean, I think I look at the next week. I look at how my week is looking and fit things around that, you know. So say, for instance, if I've done a job on a Thursday, I've gone and done some filming on a Thursday, or I've just gone and took some pictures on a Thursday for a production purpose. Then if they need that, because if we would have had the conversation prior to that, saying that, right, man, we're going to need all that done by Monday morning, then I wouldn't have any more work booked on the Friday. Okay. So I could get that work, I can concentrate on that getting done, so it's out of the way for the weekend. Now, admittedly, that's not always the case. You know, sometimes there's Fridays are also can be that spillover day because of the bad weather. You know, I might not be able to have done a job on a Tuesday because of the weather, but I can now go get it done on the Friday. So that would just then mean that I would do certain bits once my son's gone to bed, or once the wife's turned around and gone, right, I'll sit with the boy now. I'll have some time with the boy, or I'm going to take the boy out for half a day, kind of thing. And then it's just that communication then with the wife, of working things out, like, you know, of what we can and can't do over that weekend, should it be short notice. But I do try to manipulate my work and my plans the week before on how I'm going to structure stuff. Bearing in mind that I need to kind of like be free at 9 and 3:30 each day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great tip. I think that's really great. Forward planning and looking at the week before to prioritize your work, whilst also being flexible, I heard in there actually, as the weather changes and the seasons change. And family needs change. So I think that's a great tip. I think that's absolutely brilliant. What has been, Stu, your biggest learning so far?
Oh, God. I would say looking after my finances a bit. You know, the ugly part of running your own business. You know, and we all get into a business and running your own business in areas that you really like. I mean, ideally, if you're going to start a career in your own company, hopefully it's something that you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you've got that. I mean, you've got the energy and the passion to strive for that straight away.
Yeah.
But nobody really likes kind of like those the behind the scenes jobs, and that's what's been my biggest learning over the last sort of like, especially 6 months.
Yeah.
He's making sure that I don't just do what I get paid to do, that I need to look after the stuff that's behind the scenes so I can go and do that. And there's been none bigger than staying on top of the finances and learning about that. And I've learned about that in a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and so yeah, I would say don't let the numbers scare you. I mean, dedicate at least an hour or two a week in your schedule if you can to look after your own finances.
Yeah, that's a great bit of advice, that is, because it's the behind the scenes that then they come and tap you on the shoulder, don't they? And hey,
Yeah.
we learn by making mistakes or leaving things a little bit too long. But what are the things? So you mentioned there, don't just do the things that you get paid for, that earns you money. What are the things behind the scenes do you need to make sure that you've got time for? So don't let the numbers scare you, and schedule some time for your numbers. What are the things? What are your sort of top three?
Social media,
Yeah,
I'd say is one, and then the other I would say also, if you can, is networking.
yeah. Okay,
You
so
know,
lead
preferably
generation. Yeah,
in person, preferably especially being stuck if you've been indoors and working inside for a couple of days, to be able to get out and about and meet people, you know, that might have similar sort of like the similar paths that you make, you know, in similar decisions, similar areas, you know, how you do stuff. Do you know what I mean? Your work life balance, you know. So if you've had 2 days stuck at home and it's been miserable outside, then if you've got the opportunity to go out and do some networking in person, then
yeah.
go and do it.
Yeah, it does wonders for your well-being, doesn't it?
Yes.
It really does. It really,
Yes.
really does. And finally, I always end with the same question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And what words of advice would you have for other business owners that are looking to grow?
Well, I've got, but it's just over 5 years for me, really, because I'm going to be 50 in just over 5 years. So I'm 45 in October. So I'm going to be 50 in 5 years. And as you know, my plan is to actually not be doing anything in 5 years and just be living off the royalties of the business as such, and letting the people do the work, and having that freedom, and if anything, just doing 2-3 days a week, if anything, you know, and just going off and filming whatever it is I want to go and film, you know, in my spare time, and enjoying what I do as a hobby, and not just as a money maker. And that's where I'd like to see myself in 5 years' time, is feet up and relaxing and earning from that.
Love it. Love it. And what words of advice would you give other business owners who are looking to strive, thrive, and grow their business?
Don't hold it off and go and do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a tomorrow, but it's like when you make a decision on when's the right time to buy a house, when's the right time to have kids, when's the right time to actually start the business. If you keep putting it off, it'll never happen. So if you've got that idea, go bold or go home.
Oh, that's such a good way to end. Go bold or go home. Absolutely. Take the step. Take the step. There's no right time. There's no right time for anything. We'll always find an excuse if we are going to find an excuse. So
Yes.
go bold or go home. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me on Business Spotlight. So many great tips and strategies there that other business owners are going to be able to take away. So I can't wait to share this video, put my teeth back in. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye, and no doubt I'll see you at a networking event soon.
You sure will. Thank you for having me, Hannah, and all the best. Hope you had a lovely summer.
Awesome. Thanks, Stu. See you later.
See you later.